Hello, hello, everybody. Okay, let me just adjust the camera real. All right, I have no idea what we're doing here. Hold on a second. Okay, okay, so I think I can see your chat. I think I can. Let me just move this camera. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Don't get dizzy. Here we go. Okay, I'm trying to learn this Zoom live broadcasting. I did a test broadcast on Facebook. And I thought it was a fail, but then I watched it again and I figured out what I was doing wrong. So yeah, but this is what we're going to do today is I've always been wanting to do this flip through of my art journal. And I know I promised this one for quite some time, but it is not finished yet, but I have done a lot of pages in here. And that's what we're going to do today, basically, is we're going to flip through and I want to show you what I have in here. So here we go. I guess I am the speaker and I don't want this to happen. Go back to the gallery view and then come back at this computer and then turn off my camera. So we will switch to this one. Good. Oh, nope, that didn't do it. Okay, so, okay, all right. So I guess it's working now. Okay, here we go. So this journal is from Archer and Olive, and I really just love this journal so much. The reason to that is because its pages are pretty darn amazing. Yes, it is on the pricey side, unfortunately, but to me, it is worth it. It's all about the experience. If I'm happy with it, then to me, that's worth it. Does that make sense? It's just, I know some people are like, you know what, paper is paper and all that. But if you're someone like me and you care about the quality of what you're using, then you're going to understand where I'm coming from. Okay, so I believe that this is like $50 and it has, I threw away the packaging, but it says there 100 and maybe 60, 90, I can't remember pages and all that. And it has watercolor pages and it has 200 GSM. So that's really, really good paper. And I will show you what I've been doing in here, and you'll be amazed. I will tell you which um, pages have some prepping, some gesso, and I will tell you which ones doesn't. Okay, so when you open this one, this is a coil bound, and I know that some of you will say, I thought you don't like coil, I thought you don't like spiral. I don't, but in this particular one, I really don't mind it. I mean, I'm loving this one. Okay, so in the front, you'll just have, the name of the company and of course a place to put in your name and your information. So this one is dot grid also, just to let you know. If that will bother you, this one is not for you. I don't think that she has any blank watercolor paper. So, but it's not, there's no page number to it or anything like that, but it is dot grid. And the paper is a little bit on the yellow side, which, I don't mind really, because this one, as you can see here, this is very white. And this one is, a little bit yellowish. So you're on the warm side of things. I don't mind that. So in the beginning, I did a little bit of swatches of my watercolor markers. I wanted to test which ones would work the best. And this one, I really love the Faber-Castell on this one. The reason why I love the Faber-Castell, not just because I'm working with them, with, workshops and stuff like that, but they are really great quality. And there's a reason why the business has been around for more than 200 years. Yes, isn't it crazy? They've been around since 1761 and producing great artist quality supplies and materials. And I am super proud and honored and humbled to represent them when it comes to workshop and teaching with their products. So anyway, so this is the Faber-Castell Albert Dürer markers, the watercolor markers. The reason why I love this markers is that I'll show you real quick. Let me zoom in so you guys can see. Okay, so as you can see here, you're going to see the parts where I laid down the markers here, right? And here I lay down the same shape, the same square shape. And then I, of course, use my water brush to spread the colors in. And one thing that I really love about them is that you cannot even see where I laid down the markers. That means the pigment moved so freely on the page, and I had absolutely no issue trying to move those colors in and blend the colors and all that. So that's really, really good. Okay, and this is the Karen or Kareen. I don't even know how to pronounce it. The Kareen markers, the brush pens, they are great too. The colors are vibrant, very saturated. That's the one thing I love about the Kareen markers. They're very saturated, very opaque. But I think my issue with the Karen Brush Marker Pro is that it takes a long time to dry. It's just the weirdest thing. It really does take a long time to dry. I don't know why. And then here I have some Ecoline um, markers that I've tried. The Ecoline is the worst when it comes to moving those pigments. Look at that. You can really see where I lay down the markers. Look at that. And the colors didn't spread well. I don't know why. It's crazy. Ecoline are great brand. So it's a great brand. So I don't know why. This one are just watercolors from Prima Marketing. This is from their Pastel Dream, and this is from their the classics. I just wanted to see how the colors would lay on the pages, and they look amazing. Okay, on this next page, I did use some ink from J. Urban. This is the Vert Olive. I wanted to see how the inks would lay on the paper, and they're pretty darn amazing. I really love it. Okay, so more tests. This is what I do when I have a new notebook or a new journal. I do a lot of testing because I do have a lot of art supplies that I use. And so I wanted to see which ones would work best on, a certain kind of paper. In this particular one, this is a watercolor paper. So I wanted to make sure. And and so I tried some, this is the Ecoline again, and also the way the markers would sit on top of the paper is not always the same. If you're using, a Bristol or a marker paper or a copy paper, the inks are, they always react and different. It's not always the same. So you don't always get consistent vibrancy and saturation of the pigments because it depends on the paper that you're using. And that's why I love to do swatches so that I can see if I'm going to get the true color of those markers. And then here I use the Combo Dual Brush pens. Something about the water-based, I really love the water-based, they're non-toxic, acid-free, but if I'm using a watercolor paper and then I use a brush pen that is a water-based, what's what happens is that I have to be careful with water. And if I don't seal it, this is what's going to happen. So this was perfect. And then I was probably working on another page and that got wet. It's just some splatters and sprinkles of water. It can ruin your journal. So if you don't want that to happen and you're using a watercolor journal, make sure you seal your pages, with the finisher so that you don't have that problem. Okay, this one's, I apologize. I can't remember what I was using on this one, but probably just, I don't know, probably just the watercolor set. But I was into the I was trying some whimsical type of illustration, kind of like the cottage core. And I was really into that one point where I was trying to do a lot of fairies, a lot of mushrooms, and it's super fun and super pretty. But as always, as an artist, you just have to keep trying new things. I guess that's just how it works. All right, so this probably some Karen Brush Marker Pro. The way I see it, it's very saturated, and that's the only one that's super saturated of the markers that I'm using. Here, I guess this is the Pilot and So brush pens, that really thin brush tip pen from Pilot. They're great, but they're not my favorite. Okay, this one is, you know what? Let me just zoom out a little bit so we can see the whole thing. Okay, so here we go. So this page, I used the Spectrum Noir. These are their shimmer brush pens. Those pens are super pretty. Look at those glitters. And they stay. You know how some glitter markers are just, the glitters are all over the place? Yes, they do kind of spread a little bit, but not that much. I have tried and used some other glitter pens like this, and their glitters are like all over the place. But with the Spectrum, I love that shimmer. I love that shine. And the brush pen is such a delight to use because although it is a brush pen, I don't really find it difficult to use. Some brush pens are very difficult to use, um, but that one I could still get consistency, and I could get control from the brush pen. So I love that one to use. So here, I guess I was doing a little bit of swatches of the same pen from Spectrum. It's such a cute lemon. And then even though I'm swatching and that I don't want to waste that swatch, I would put in like lettering on top of those beautiful swatches. So here I just added a quote, and it's pretty. Okay, so this one, still practicing some blending with a Tombow Dual brush. And really, when you're using a watercolor paper like this, a journal like this, you know that you don't have any issues when it comes to bleed through or anything. You don't have that fear of laying down the markers and laying down the colors. That's one great thing I really love about this paper, is because I know it's not going to bleed through. Of course, if it's an alcohol marker, which I've never tried, it might bleed through because alcohol markers always does. But again, it's not an alcohol marker paper. This is a watercolor journal. So I shouldn't be using alcohol in here because I know it's going to bleed through. But anyways, the way the colors blend, it's really fantastic. I just love this journal. All right, so this is what I was talking about. So this is when I use that Karen brush markers, okay? So look at all the bleed through on the other side. I'm just going to zoom in real quick so you guys can see. See how you can see that bleed through? Although I really left it to dry for quite some time, but it's still transferred onto the other page here. A little bummer, but you know, this is just my journal. I'm not expecting it to be perfect or anything like that. But these are markers from Archer and Olive. This is their paint pens, the acrylograph pens. Ooh, sometimes it's a mouthful. All right. Okay. What do we have here? Okay, so this is just, I don't know what I was doing. Maybe just playing with paint pens. This is Faber-Castell Albert Durer colored pencils. Yep, this is it. Oh my gosh, those colored pencils are just fantastic. I know I did a live video using those pencils. You have to check them out in action because those colored pencils, they are the best colored pencils that I've tried. Well, I haven't tried the Derwent ink pens. I should try that one and then maybe compare the two, but oh gosh, it's fantastic. Oh, what is this? Okay, this is, I think this is Pago's watercolor set that they've sent me. I love that set. You know, it's really cheap watercolor set, but it doesn't work cheap. That makes sense. It didn't have that waxy consistency. The colors are very saturated, and it's very affordable. So I'm going to find that link and I'll make sure to post a link in the description later. Find the links to these products that I'm talking about. Okay, so here to our left, I created this page. Most of these pages in here, I do have a time-lapse process video that you can find on my Instagram. You can find me on Instagram.com/mommylay, and you will find a lot of Instagram IG reels of me doing these pages. So the background I created using the Albert Dürer watercolor pencils. Gosh, they're fantastic. And of course, I used the Pitt Artist Pen to do the lettering. Now here, I I don't know what I used for this one. I'm sorry, apologize. Maybe the Albert Dürer watercolor markers. And then I used some stamps to stamp in the word spring to give me that clean print look that I love. Okay, this one I used some Tombow dual brush pens here. I did some blending. And that's the one thing. Ever since I got this journal, that's when I couldn't stop practicing my blends. I've always had that trouble of blending with a dual brush, and I always see it all over the internet. People um, that are sharing their blending with the dual brush, and I could never get that look that I'm happy with. But ever since I got this journal, oh my goodness, I'm just blending away. Super fun. Okay, this is using the same colors that I used here from the Tombow Jewel brush, and I do have a process video for this one. I used some glue dots to create the negative space, and that was super fun. Although I must say that it was a little bit of work because I have to stick all those glue things and I have to take them out, and it's like, oh, that was not worth it. I won't do that again. Where this one's maybe I used the Nua. I think I did. For this, I have no idea what I used in this one. Completely no clue. Mm, I don't know. Maybe the Marine, maybe, because of just how vibrant this it looks like. That's the markers I used. Okay, so this one I was playing around with the gessos and with the gelatos from Faber-Castell, and figure out I was trying to figure out the kind of blending, what's going to happen with and without gesso. And so this one, when I applied the gelatos in here, there's no gesso. And then I used a brush pen to move around the colors. It didn't work as much, but to not their defense, but um, maybe to their defense, every single art product that you're going to use requires a whole lot of practice. You really have to use your materials and really practice with them for you to figure out the best way that you can use those art supplies. And it really is just as simple as that. You really have to practice. Okay, I think that's Karen Brush also. All right, so here I just sewed the page. So this is me practicing and this is me playing around so, I can figure out ways how to use my supplies. So this page, I applied some gesso first, the primer, and then I applied the gelatos. All right. And then I used the brush pen again to spread the colors, which worked much better, right? So as you can see the difference, you can see the marks here where I laid down the colors. And here, when I just sewed the page, you can, hardly tell where I applied the gelatos itself because really the colors moved around. Okay, so gelatos are pigment pens. They're not really pens, stick pigment markers. Really hard, but they were They have this creamy consistency, and at first, I will be completely honest with you, when I first used the gelatos, I'm like, "I have no idea how to use this. I have no idea how can I use this in my, my art?" And then I figured out, and I will show you later. So anyways, here, I love the rainbow. As you can see, I have rainbows all over. And then I have some quotes here also. I did some quotes in here and using, I think this is the, oh goodness, mermaid markers. There we go. This is the mermaid markers from Jane Davenport. And then this is Albert Durer watercolor markers from Faber-Castell. I should add a quote in here, but this usually what happens when I have my journal out, and then when I have my specific supplies and pens and markers out already, I would normally would do 2 pages with those supplies just because it's already out. You know what I mean? It's like I might as well just do something on the other page also. So this one, this is when I started playing around with mixed media supply. And I am currently obsessed with the thought of mixed media journal. Um, it is not mixed media is not new to me. Of course, I've been watching a lot of videos about it, following a lot of artists that are doing a lot of mixed media, junk journal, and stuff like that. But for some reason, I don't know, but for some reason, I just never wanted to try it. Maybe it was too messy for me. I'm not sure. I really don't have a specific answer for you. I was part of the Prima marketing design team before, and now I regret, I do regret not jumping in and really trying the mixed media before when I had the opportunity to use all the beautiful Prima marketing supplies. Now I have to buy all my supplies, but it's okay. I love Prima marketing, so I'm just going to support them and buy their products. Okay, so here I use the Prima marketing, oh, what do you call it? Modeling paste. That's right, the modeling paste. And then I use some stencil to create these shapes in here. So these are using stencils and modeling paste. And then I did use the Albert Durer watercolor markers to, color in and then spread it around with water brush pens and to create the background. It's just super pretty. And you're going to see me improving and playing around with it more and trying new things as we go along in the journal. It's super fun. And then so I just added a little bit of my brush lettering and hand lettering in here, which I love. I love keeping positive quotes in here, and I love seeing um, really good energy words and just all around good. Okay, so here, I think this is the page where I was playing around with the Albert Dürer watercolor pencils that I created here on live on YouTube. So you can check that out. I'll put the link or put it on the eye on top. Okay, here, so it's cute. I used the Faber-Castell Pit Artist to do my line art. It's not black. I think I used like the dark blue that they have. I really love that too, because it's not over the top like in your face. Sometimes when you use black like this, look at that, like, I'm black. So this is like the blue, and I love it. I'm gonna use the Albert Dürer watercolor markers to do that. Here I did a little bit of embossing. So I forgot how much fun to do some embossing. I did do a lot of embossing projects before when I was doing card making. I completely forgot how much I love it. I bought some, I think it's from Ranger, from Tim Holt, their embossing pen. And I said, you know what? I might as well just do a little bit of that embossing in here. And that was fun. That's really fun. It's messy. The embossing powder ones, they just go all over the place and that's a lot of cleanup. That's a lot of glitter. Okay, so here I created this pattern using some stencils, and I do believe that I used our Mommy pigment ink. And I did use some brush, like stencil brush, to create those patterns using the stencils. And it's just super fun. Now that I'm looking at it, actually, right after when I finished everything, I really thought to myself, I should have just stopped after the clouds because the rainbow kind of looking, those rays just kind of make it look super busy in my eyes. So I'm not completely happy with that one. I could have been better. Okay, here. So I made the patterns using some of our fun stamps. I think we still have them in the shop. So if you like to pick some up for summer projects, you can. Um, so these are stamps, and I use some archival Ranger ink pad. You have to use an archival ink pad when you're going to use some water anywhere near your project, because if you use something that's not waterproof, then it's going to bleed through and you're going to end up with a whole lot of mess. That's not going to look good. You don't want that, I promise. All right, and then here I was playing around. I think this is just a little bit of gelatos left in my blending palette. And it's just the way it is. Okay, and here is when I figured out how to blend much better with the gelatos, and we're going to talk about that. So I was playing around with just pages in here and just kind of nothing, playing around with it, trying to blend or leftover things like that. This beautiful lady here, I designed her just a couple of, maybe 2 nights ago, because this one is just pattern, basically the watercolor background. So I figured, you know what, I'm going to draw something in there. So I drew her there and she's super pretty. Okay, here again, just a little scratch page, but still pretty. I don't mind. And I think that's the thing about me, is that when I have a journal, art journal, I don't intend it to look perfect. I want it to look used and loved, Does that make sense? Hey, this one, okay, so this is the fun thing I've learned about the gelatos. So remember, I was struggling with the gelatos in the beginning of this journal, and like, how can I blend this? How can I use it and all that? I have learned a trick. You're gonna have to use a baby wipe, and that's what I did. You can find the link to the process video, time lapse video on my Instagram. I will put that in the description, or if you just, visit my Instagram page, you'll see it there. I just applied really the gelatos directly into the page. And I have a baby wipe on my finger, and I was just smudging the colors. That's it. And then I used some stencil, um, have the baby wipes, and then the stencil. Basically, I was lifting off the colors, and then I was creating negative space, and then using the same stencil, I applied the gelatos on top of the stencil, and I created a little bit of texture using the gelatos in here. It was super fun, super duper fun.